What's going on, Soul Tribe? I salute the divinity in you, and welcome to the Chariot Friends. Justin here, and how you feeling? The moon's in Capricorn, and this is always a time I think to just like really kind of get grounded, get really thinking about anytime the moon's in an earth sign, but this is where the moon finds herself in her detriment. But I do think that the moon in Capricorn has a way of where it may not be too emotionally involved, but it takes those emotions and channels them into practical things. It's not just I like that. It's like really gives the emotions form, and we're going to talk about that a bit more here with the moon in Capricorn here in a minute. But if you're new here, again, my name is Justin. You know that when you're coming across this video, you're in sync with the moon, and who doesn't love that? But this also plays if you happen to have Cancer in your placements. Sun, Moon, Rising, maybe Saturn, wherever. This one's for you. But we all have moon placements, and that moon placement rules our Cancer house. So it's good to know where the moon's at and have that relationship with the moon as well. And I do tarot card spreads amongst other things. Based off that lovely luminary, the good old moon. Got to see her all yesterday. She was all getting close to full when I'm recording this. And yeah, I love looking at the moon. I think that today is supposed to be, just a little sidebar, I was reading somewhere where the moon's supposed to be really kind of hovering real close to the horizon, I think, today. When it's starting to rise. I gotta look to see what time the moon rises. But yeah, we should hopefully be able to get that, get out there. If you can see that full moon here tonight, get out there. Well, hopefully you saw that full moon out there. Again, I'm speaking in the, I gotta remember when I'm talking about this. But yeah, hopefully you got to see that full moon, and it was real lovely. Very, very lovely for sure. But I do tarot card spreads, lunar. Let's try that one more time. And I'll talk about what sign it's in, what phase it's in, when it's going forward. Of course, it's all them lunar shenanigans. Let's get myself together. And just so y'all aware, this is a general reading, not a 1-to-1. So take what fits into your story, discard the rest, and everything will be dope. Now, let's jump into it. Well, actually, before we jump into it, I do want to make just a little small, it's kind of a big announcement. So, before we get into this, I had some big things that I'm going to be doing here, and I'm going to release a separate video on this. But what's going to end up happening is that I'm going to end up maybe being just kind of removing this channel and moving moving the lunar astrology over to my main channel here, because I got some things that are really starting to evolve, and I just need a little more time. Just a little more time. So I'm repurposing some things, been really kind of doing some analysis. So the Chariot Friends may be coming to a close here, but a lot of this is going to move over here. At least the lunar astrology part, or the lunar shenanigans part of it, is going to move over to my other channel. I'm going to do that on a moon day, but I'll talk about that more in a separate video in the next. I'm gonna finish this lunar cycle out, and then we're going to make that move there. So, but I'll release a video before that all happens there, to kind of get you prepped and things, and let you know what to do from here going forward. But yeah, let's go ahead and get into the lunar shenanigans here, because we got this lovely moon in Capricorn that's coming up here, which those are interesting combinations of words. And let me get my handy dandy drawer here. Here's the moon chilling in far away from home, from its home sign of Cancer. And the moon, but happy Mercury Day, by the way, depending on when you're watching this. That's why I'm so chatty. But on the 11th of June, the moon is going to enter into Capricorn at about 6:55 p.m., and that's going to be Pacific time. And now we're in the waning gibbous phase. We're coming off of that full moon, that brilliant full moon. There's a lot of big energy that came through with that moon. And so now this is the time to really kind of process that, really kind of integrate what you got from that energy when they were, how you reconciled those two, the luminaries, the sun and the moon, and how you integrated that energy, and how you're putting that into what is your plan going forward. Because now the moon is moving through the signs of Saturn. It's under the responsibility of Saturn wherever you happen to have Capricorn and Aquarius over these next 5 days or so. And Saturn's all about structure. It's all about form. And specifically in Capricorn, this is when the moon is furthest away from its home sign of Cancer. So you can think of that as, think of you when you're at home, you know where everything is how you want it to be. But now it's like you're staying in a completely foreign land. You don't know the language. You don't know the outlets work differently. The flips work differently. Where's the fridge? There's just a lot of questions. And that's how it can feel sometimes when a celestial body is working working outside of its home, but it just develops a new sense of skills here. Because the moon, when you think about it, is how we nurture, how we feel, the undercurrents, the subtle movements in the body and the emotions and things. And now in Capricorn, I find that this is taking those feelings and putting that stuff, even that those feelings form. So if you've been wanting to, let's say this Capricorn part of your chart, how can we nurture this part a little bit more? This might be an area where maybe you're a little, where you do notice that you're a little uncomfortable at times. Maybe these are certain topics that you're just like, it's like you have to deal with them. You just don't necessarily maybe like dealing with them all the time. But the moon in Capricorn, I think, can help us set our feelings aside, to be like, where yes, we may not always be feeling like doing whatever work that we have to do, because the Capricorn is very much the cardinal earth sign. They're ruled by Saturn, receptive or yin in nature. And Capricorn really, I think, absorbs the responsibilities and the weight of the things that we, the relationships that we form, the things that were built, whatever our great purpose, our great work is. There's a lot of pressure with that. And with all our emotions, the emotions of everyone around us, it can be hard to maintain that discipline, those times sometimes. But I think the moon here really has a very kind of sober approach to the emotions. Like, okay, this is the things that I've been feeling, and this is where I want to express that, where I want to channel this energy into. Let me do something constructive with this, as opposed to just sitting in the emotions. You know what I mean? It's different than when the moon's in Cancer. We just need to kind of feel something out. Now we have to do something with this. But I think the only trickiness with the moon is that sometimes it can become so maybe efficient at channeling its emotions into other things that it doesn't realize what it's absorbing along the way. And I think it's good to pay attention to as well how your external reflects your internal, because again, the earth energy deals with the things that are materialized. And that can even just be just as simple as just checking within how's the body looking when you look at the body, and not like in like a shaming type of way, but just an analysis. You know what, I'm looking like maybe I could get a little bit more rest, or maybe I'm noticing I've been carrying a little bit more water weight. Maybe I find some ways to work with that, maybe working with some drying herb, or looking into research about that, or however this may be kind of coming up for you. Maybe you're looking at your style, it's like, these colors are feeling a little dull, I want to freshen things up a little bit. That can be some ways to just kind of work with these energies just on a general level. But the moon itself is going to be having some very interesting conversations over. It's a little busy early on, and then we get a little bit of space, and then it kind of ends on a conversation with the nodes. But let's kind of go through this energy, because the first conversation that the moon is going to have let's look at that straight line, is going to be in opposition with Big Papa. And oppositions are those energies of they're obviously when the celestial bodies are in opposing signs and opposing houses. So it's like, how do you take those two different themes and reconcile them? How do you bring the best of both worlds? What are some choices that you have to make in order to change this up? So let's say, for example, if this is someone with a Scorpio rising, maybe you're looking at the things, feeling about, maybe you want to broaden your education, with Jupiter going through your 9th house. You've been feeling like you want to learn more, you want to experience, get some new feelings from some new information and things. This could be looking at the stuff that you've been studying. Maybe you want to get some new books. Maybe you want to take some courses. Maybe you want to, whatever this is looking like, broad, anything to kind of expand your world. Or maybe you're noticing that your world is feeling a little small. Maybe feeling a little cramped in your environment, and now you want to branch out a little bit more. Maybe you want to go check the next city over. Maybe you want to book a trip somewhere even further, maybe overseas to a different land. Maybe you just want to introduce maybe different foreign foods or something along those lines. That could be another thing that maybe you want to incorporate in. I'm just kind of spitting out some stuff here, but first, it's like the first kind of question is just like looking at how we're growing and how we're feeling about how we're growing, because Jupiter is bringing in some big feels now that it's exalted in Cancer. So now that it's under the rulership of the moon, this would be those period times. Every time the moon's in Capricorn, just kind of looking at how do I feel about how I'm growing, and every month for this next year. And I know that may seem like a lot, but how do I feel about that? How do I feel my progress Taurus is going, and kind of monitor that between these themes in your house and see how that energy grows. It's really, really kind of fascinating. You can get some really good insights there with that. So that may be some kind of questions there that are kind of starting off. And then it leads to a little more tension. Because even though that opposition is happening with Jupiter, it's still Big Papa. And so this is always going to lead to our sense of growth. But then the real kind of challenge may come from that energy of Aries, where Saturn's at. Because that's going to be the next conversation the moon has. And so maybe we're feeling how we're growing. And now let's say if we want to continue the Scorpio rising, for example, okay, we want to expand, we want to learn more, but now we got to put in the work. This, maybe the sixth house things, maybe we got to figure out how to work in the studies with our job getting in the way, or maybe there's something with our health that we need to deal with, or maybe there's something with whatever, working it into your routine, however this might look like for you here. And understanding too, with this expansion and the things, there's going to be challenges along the way. There are going to be some things that you have to get used to being a student again. If this is like a schooling type of thing, or you have to go out of your comfort zone, gotta go out of your neighborhood, and there may be some, I don't want to say misfortunes or bad luck, but you're just if you're in a different environment, there are different rules that things kind of come into play there. So learning how to socialize with people differently and things like that. So that could be just another thing. So we're feeling a little bit of tension there with that Saturn energy, maybe feeling the weight of the responsibility. Again, the moon is under the auspices of Saturn right now, and that's an interesting one. That's not always the most pleasant, but it could eventually lead to this kind of nice to a little bit of harmony here. Because then the moon will form a trine with Venus. And so this could be where you're doing this studying, and yeah, sure, like it's been a little bit of work, but now maybe with this happening in your relationship house, just to continue this example, this could be where you're finding people to help you ground your ideas, like they take you to different sources. Hey, have you checked out this online course? Hey, have you checked out this school? Hey, have you talked to this person? That could be where that Venus in Taurus is really bringing in some nice things for your relationships. They're helping you kind of ease the stuff. Maybe some family members happen to know some things, maybe some siblings, maybe you just happen to be talking with someone in your coffee shop that you go to, or whatever that might be looking, maybe something at your work, again, that may be what that is looking like there. But something to kind of help things move along to make the process a little more pleasurable. But it's like taking that initial step, though, I think is going to be the first challenge that comes with this sort of, with the moon being in Capricorn. And then the moon ends off. One more conversation here. Well, got two more. The moon is going to again oppose now another Cancer placement, the Mercury, who's now in the moon, kind of moving through the moon's house. Now we're thinking, okay, we've got this information, and then it's just like, what do we think about what we just received? Again, how do we reconcile our thoughts with the actions that we need to take? And then moving that things forward. Now things are making, or at least things are in the process of starting to make sense. Maybe with that Mercury opposing that moon place, we're kind of understanding how we can take these feelings and maybe even those frustrations and things, and to channel them more constructively. So that would be, I think, just again, this is just a base level of how this may play out. And you want to pay attention to this if you have a lot of cardinal placements. That specifically we're talking about Libra, Aries, or Cancer. This could be maybe a more particularly active time for you during this period of time. So pay attention to your relationship with that. For me, this is actually a pretty quiet one. The moon it trines my midheaven. Let's see, opposes my sun, and that's it. And then it'll do something with the nodes. But otherwise, it's a pretty quiet one. So I kind of dig moons and caps sometimes. Like I'm never really mad at that. So yeah, that's something you could just kind of pay attention to really kind of get a feel for that. And then the last kind of conversation that the moon's going to have is between the nodes. And so we got a trine with the south node. So this could be looking at areas, kind of reflecting on where you've been, how you've been kind of acting. Let's say this is the 11th house, seeing like, okay, now I need to, looking at the people maybe that I've been networking with, that I've been socializing with, how have they been moving me towards this 5th house where I'm, getting more of my good fortune, where I'm able to feel like I'm on the right track, where I'm able to express myself better, when I'm able to get things materialized here. Because once it forms this ease with the south node to kind of understand how we've been moving, and then creates this opportunity here with the sextile to make that move, to continue continue that energy going there, going forward. Like, okay, I like this trajectory. I like, maybe the resources, the information that such and such introduced me to, or whatever, again, whatever this might be looking like for how the story may be, again, translating in your chart. But that just gives you just kind of a rough example of how you can look at these lunations. And even with the moon, you get a general feel of how maybe the collective will be, kind of feeling over these next couple of days. But again, it always turns off to how your chart's been personalized, what kind of aspects are going on in there, and all that good stuff. So make sure to apply that to your chart as well. But last couple of things here, because let's get into the tarot now. Oh. And let's get my hourglass started here. Let's get some time moving. But last couple of things here, these readings that I do, they're not gender-specific readings. So apply these energies to people as they make sense for your situations. Now, I'm going to be pulling 6 cards, and we're just going to get a general energy pull of the day. I'm going to start with an oracle, then pull some cards. And we'll get some I-Ching advice at the end. But I pulled... For your changing lines, you got lines 5 and 6 as your changing lines. So I'm going to get clarifiers for cards 5 and 6 once we get into this thing. But let's go ahead and just get some general energy for this moon in Capricorn. See what's going on with this. Ooh, I love that. I love this card. You got the whale spirit here, which is a card of trust the great mystery. And I think with Capricorn, when we're thinking about the great work, what we're here to achieve, sometimes that is a mystery. Sometimes we think that we know what we're going to do, and then life does what it does and takes us on a whole different trajectory. Where before I, go coming through, I was for sure, I was going to be doing music, and I'm definitely incorporating that back into my life. But I had an idea of where things were going. Would I ever tell you that I'd be doing being an astrologer and, just kind of doing all these things? Like, no, absolutely. Reading tarot, I-Ching, all of this stuff. But that's the mysteries of life. It's sometimes the angel has something bigger in mind, something grander in mind, something that, we're just getting just a taste of what we can, potentially achieve here. And I just think that there's this energy of, it's like trusting something bigger than yourself. You may not understand how you're going to get this thing into form. And I think that's what can happen with Capricorn energy just in general. Again, it can feel that weight and pressure of needing to achieve, needing to create something, needing to make form, to leave behind some sort of long-lasting legacy, in a sense, that it can weigh it down, that it can feel like, oh, I couldn't possibly do that. How could I, how can I do that? It doesn't make sense just for me to be able to achieve this thing. And then we get in our way, the doubt creeps in, and then all those things. But this to me is, trust your guidance. This is even giving me I'm getting like a high priestess energy that's really kind of coming off of this whale spirit here. But yeah, something bigger, something grander, I think, is in play here over this energy. But let's go ahead and get your first card here. Let's get some tarot on this and get some details. Yeah. All right. So you got the Ten of Pentacles here. I mean, basically, the Ten of Pentacles is you living in the dream. This is your legacy. Literally, what I was talking about, your legacy that you're leaving behind. This is Mercury in Virgo, which is Mercury in its exalted state. But this definitely, I feel, really describes the Capricorn energy very well. You're thinking about that big picture, that grand scheme, that whole. That in the Ten of Pentacles, this is something that we're working at for the duration of this journey. This is not just like, oh, I got that big Jupiter transit, I got that abundance, and I got that one big win, and that's it. No, this is like, okay, now how do I take those big wins and extend those out more? You know what I mean? And so, yeah, there could be some bigger questions that may be coming up with this Ten of Discs. Are the things that you're doing, how is that contributing to your legacy, your lifelong dream? This is giving me even sort of like 8th house themes. And again, there's the fears and anxieties about that. Maybe we're feeling like there's not enough time, possibly. We're feeling the pressures of that. And I think that there's something to even like there's never a too late to start this great work, whatever that may be. This is another thing that I'm getting with this Ten of Pentacles. There may be some will energy that's even kind of coming through here. Maybe we're dealing with some sort of inheritance possibly here. And that might not be just like a physical, like a monetary inheritance. Maybe you're inheriting some sort of some sort of dream, some sort of mystery in a sense. You've been given this like responsibility, some sort of gift. I'm even kind of getting here, and it's just like, how do you want that to flourish? How do you make it work for you in a sense? Yeah, it'd be a great, really kind of problem-solving energy, and that's interesting that the moon it's at least with the celestial bodies. The last one that I talked to was Mercury here, so yeah, reflecting on the things that you want to, that you're bringing into being. That's interesting. Let's get another card on this. Nice. All right. There's Big Papa. You got the Fortune card here. And this, I really feel, is just, again, looking at how the wheel has been moving. Do you feel like you're going in a flow? Do you feel like you're swimming like this whale here, that you're just kind of diving in and letting the currents take you? Or do you feel like you're resisting something? Do you feel like you're swimming upstream in a sense? And life is always, again, like even when we started off with those kind of oppositions and squares, life always has those tension points. So it's not to say that we just avoid all hard work, but there's just something here, I think, with the Wheel of Fortune that's trying to say, like, there's a way for you to make the work easy, like how we were talking about that trine with Venus, that whereas it's like it's flow, it's luck, it's just natural, maybe calling even on some kind of like natural gifts that you have, really maybe kind of exploiting those a bit more to help the wheel not just get moving, but really just being able to see where you're at on this cycle here, as far as like how maybe you're growing, how you're expanding. I was talking a lot about this on my other channel, Alchemist Date, that in this you might be feeling, because that square with Saturn and Jupiter it's building, it's getting really to its peak here, and now it's happening. This energy is happening in cardinal signs, where this is happening, where it was happening with the mutable energies before. Things were moving, things were changing. Now with all of that, where do we go from all of that, or from all of those things there? So yeah, that's what I got with the Fortune card there. Very interesting. Oh, okay. Let's get another one. Nice, nice. So you got the Six of Wands here, another one of Jupiter's cards, and this is that sense of those small victories, those wins, and that's what I really think is this energy. I think is trying to get you to take steps towards that Ten of Pentacles, towards whatever that finish line is looking like for you, and finding those things that just feel, even if when it's work, there's still an effortlessness that comes through there. And when you get the breakthrough, it's so satisfying. It reminds me of when I would be maybe like practicing something, for example, practicing a piece of music, and you find a tricky part, and it is doing something that your brain's just like, what? And so you got to work it out slow at first, and then build up the speed, and then you got it. But it's like that continuing to show up and keep putting in that practice each day. And I'm even getting a question here with the Six of Wands, is the things that we call wins, is just like, how are we feeling about them afterwards when we've achieved something, in any sort of achievement. Even this, like, that's interesting. It's a very specific question that I'm trying to get at here. Whenever when you're getting out of bed and you brush your teeth, you're like, yeah, that's a win, or that's not quite it. It's like It almost reminds me of like how you maybe feel when you win something at a video game. You know, when you've put in that time, you've put in that effort, you've been stuck at a certain point and you make that breakthrough. But now I think that it's like taking that feeling from the video game and putting it into life. I'm not saying that video games is the problem here, but that's just something that's kind of coming up. I think it's finding more inner strength to really kind of face the changes and how life fluctuates and what victories look like at different stages, maybe even of life. That might even be something that's kind of coming through here. I'm just noticing just a lot of purple energy in here as well. That maybe is just something that might resonate with you. I look even to like the associations of purple. I want to say that deals with kind of like getting into like the higher chakras and things, and it makes me think about like amethyst and things. So that's just like just a little message here, just something that I'm just noticing. Oh, I'm wearing purple. So I mean, just this bag's purple. So just some things to think about. I can take that if that resonates. Yeah, let's get another one on this. Okay, so something to break it up. But I like this too. So you got the Princess of Disc here, and this is the earthiest court card, the earthy part of Earth. This is the great mystery taking form. This is like the the princesses are known as the thrones of the aces, and it just gives me just like it's again, this is the finish line, and now it's missing that seed. We see the image and even just thinking like we're looking at the Princess of This, she's pregnant with this life, with this earth, with this manifestation energy, and she wants something to realize, so you may just be feeling this kind of a pregnant, abundant energy right now, just like, or at least it could be some kind of invitations towards that. Maybe receiving some sort of news or receiving some kind of sort of advice or something that just sort of spurs like a aha moment or something like that. But this is, this is taking whatever ideas that you have and giving them form. The birthing process, if you will. That's interesting. I like to talk with the Prince of Disc or Princess of Disc as well, just looking where you're pouring your energies into as well. And have you been pouring energies into something and it hasn't been, because it's one thing for something to take a while to grow. And this is almost reminding me of the Seven of Pentacles a little bit. But I'm just like looking at how the force is there. If you've been pouring your energy to something and nothing is growing, there's just something there. I'm thinking that you're just kind of looking at. Because even going back to like that Six of Wands and thinking about what those wins look like for you, it has just like the process just been punishing, and I mean that's a very something that's trying to formulate there. So take that as that resonates. Let's get another one on this. So you have the Seven of Cups here. And this to me, in this card, it's like something is distracting. You maybe from this work, this ten of discs, this 10 of energy here. It's almost like a deviation that I'm getting from the Seven of Cups. Like you just maybe gotten off track, maybe with the Wheel of Fortune being here to the with the Seven of Cups. Something feels. I'm getting the message of like expectations versus reality. That's sometimes what I think with the it's like what we we have this dream, but it's just like this great this like this work that we're wanting to do. And it's not to say that your dream is so fanciful, but I think that it is not letting, keeping it in a practical sense. Like, okay, you can want to have the biggest empire in the world, but how are we really going to accomplish that? Like it's like, Rome or whatever was conquered in a day, or that may not be a saying, but for the sake of this reading, it's going to be one. But I'm even getting just like, just like kind of going around with like distractions, and it's just kind of drawing me to like the advice of your energy, of what the I-Ching says. It just gives me kind of like maybe like a bouncing around to certain things, to get almost like maybe even a false sense of, or like a placebo effect, sort of, for like achievement or something along those lines here. Let me get a clarifier with that Seven of Cups. And there's your seed. So you got the Ace of Coins here, which is what I was talking about with that Princess of Disc there. And it's like something is getting ready. It's like you have a dream, you have something that you can get started here. But I think it might be just maybe feeling overwhelmed with possibilities, in a sense, maybe with this Ace of Disc or Ace of Coins to the Seven of Cups. It's like we have so many things maybe that we're wanting to do, and it's just like which one to start, and I think that it's just like, pick one. Pick one that makes sense, and I think sometimes it can be just that simple, and then just feel see which one feels right now. Just get the win, get the sense of achievement, and then get that accomplishment under your belt, so that it keeps motivating you to keep doing that again and again and again. And this, to me, even too, is giving this sense of maybe not limiting oneself, like that you can do more. Try not to put it all into one thing. You can do multiple things. We're meant, I think, to do more than just one aspect. You could be a farmer who's an accountant, who's an astronomer, who's all of the things. So. Yeah, that's just something else that's coming through. I'm with that. All right, let's get your last card. See what's going on with that energy. This is an interesting one. All right, so you got the Six of Swords here. And this, to me, is seeing the vision, going towards the thing, but in doing that, there are going to be some stuff that we're leaving behind, some things that may be, we're seeing things really kind of crystal clear with the Six of Swords. We're really getting a real kind of, again, like the Six of Swords is a real kind of connection of, I think, really kind of as above, so below. It's like looking towards that guiding, that North Star with the Six of Swords. And keeping that focus and remembering the great work, chasing after that white whale, that Moby Dick. That's what that can be. That's fascinating, because you're not thinking like in the Rider-Waite deck how there's these figures on a boat setting out on a new endeavor, on a new adventure, going to lands that they've never seen before. New experience. We were even talking about that in the example chart. So. Yeah, there might be something there, just a meeting to go in a different direction. Maybe we've gotten off course a little bit, but this would be a great kind of course correction energy with that Capricorn, with that moon in Capricorn there. But let's get a clarifier with that Six of Swords. So the Six of Swords is clarified by the Nine of Swords. And this could be just general anxieties of just like, am I making the right direction? Or am I making the right choice? Am I making the right call? And just feeling the fears and intention and stresses behind it. Maybe even stressing oneself out a little too much to where maybe you don't even make a choice, almost like. And maybe even this could even be where you're just like dismissing the journey before you even started with this to energy here. You've already seen in your head how it's going to go, so why even do it? And just really kind of removing options from yourself, like we were talking with that Seven of Coins, even to the Seven of Cups, or excuse me, Ace of Coins to the Seven of Cups. So I would look at any sort of like that, any sort of like maybe self-deprecating sort of conversations that are going on in your head, or maybe even some doubts and fears that others may be putting in towards you about the work that you're doing, possibly. Maybe something is sapping. You've been pouring your energy here, but maybe something is like taking away from that. They may be, it's like the energies may be divided or something along those lines here. So and I would just be mindful about self-fulfilling prophecies, especially when the moon moves into Aquarius, because it's like when we're initiating from maybe a state of fear here or panic, or not initiating, because I'm thinking about Capricorn, then that may carry over into that moon, and then next thing you know, we're starting to ingrain a certain maybe not so supportive habit into our day to day there. So, yeah, overall, this is thinking about some really big stuff, like where's the course of your really kind of big, again, think about some bigger things in life, that may be coming up. If you want to get more specific, looking again where your chart can be a great example, seeing where the planets are transiting, especially a planet like Saturn and Jupiter. Since Big Papa's here, again, with Jupiter in Cancer right now, Jupiter's exalted. This is a brilliant energy, thinking about where you want to grow right now. And it's not going to be an easy growth. People get excited about a baby. But, there's a whole labor process, that morning sickness, and, you're eating for two now. And then when it's born, then that's a whole new set of challenges. Then we're in the thing. But, yeah, this is... started off with an idea, something that's wanting to take form there, but yeah, just a little something to think about, I think, with these energies here. Now let's go ahead and wrap up with the I-Ching, because you got hexagram 53, which is progress, and this is trigrams. It's wind over mountain, and like I said before, you got changing lines 5 and 6 here, and let me actually get my changing lines out here. So we're going to go over those lines. So the 5th line is an interesting one, very Capricorn. It talks about the wild swan dawdles towards the summit. For 3 years, the one who conceives cannot conceive. Yet all will be well. Good auspices. So this could be, the wild swan is just sort of just doing its thing, just sort of putzing around, and is going towards a summit, though. This is not just like it's trying to reach a peak. This even reminds, I'm thinking of like the midheaven, reaching the highest point in the chart. And, we were talking about in that 7 of Cups, have there been things that have been distracting you? Because the swan is dawdling, and this is an unrefined swan. This is a wild swan just sort of doing its thing, just trying to figuring out its its creative abilities. And normally, I would think, that doesn't affect the capacity that a swan can't conceive or anything, but it's just like right now, there may be, and not to say this is going to take 3 years for you to conceive any sort of like results from your work, but what if it does take 3 years? How do you feel about that? Is this something that you can see, whatever it is that you're starting off, can you see yourself doing this for 3 years? Can you see yourself doing it for 10 years, 15 years, 30 years? Wherever you're at on your life. And because the journey's not over till it's over, so I just keep planning. Never stop planning, because the moment you stop planning, then we're good. So that's just something there that even though things won't conceive, all will be well in the end. And I think that it kind of ties in nicely to the next energy, because the 6th line talks about the wild swan dawdles towards the highlands. So we're reaching a higher point here. Not quite at the summit, but we're getting to higher, we're elevating. And then it says, its feathers can be used for sacred rites. Good auspices. So we got good auspices on both lines, really kind of supportive energy here. And the feathers that have been left behind while the swan was dawdling through the highlands can be used. Think of those as your past experiences. And let's go ahead and switch back over. Your past experiences, that south node energy. How have you been moving about? Look at the where the feathers have fallen, the trails that you've taken to get to your summit as you've been going through the highlands, and how can you use those as nuggets of wisdom to open up new opportunities for that north node, for that direction, for that new energy, again towards that summit, whatever that summit is looking like. And it's high up in the sky. The winds, and we got wind over mountain. So we're feeling the breeze coming from down from up high. And so now it's like really kind of keep working towards that, keep persevering, because that's why I think with Capricorn, when they set their mind to something, I think that they can, and again, just kind of push through, when those doubts and then those kind of dark times, that they achieve really, really spectacular results. And yeah, I feel like there's a lot of support in this, in this as well. And don't let the failures and the things that the losses too, don't let them just be wasted. Like it's yeah, you may have lost something, but or like maybe where it wasn't a victory, but what did you learn from it? Because if you can't get anything else, you can get some wisdom from a situation. So, and that's all I got for you there. Some very interesting energies to think about. But if you like that, if anything resonated with you, give it a thumbs up. And yeah, I guess I'm gonna kind of lighten up on the kind of pitching this, because again, we're gonna make that shift over to the other channel. I think towards the end of the month here. Yeah, I got a new idea how I'm gonna be presenting this stuff here too. Maybe a little less tarot and I-Ching, just a little more astrology. So, but yeah. Oh well, I guess I could take this time if you want to work more with these readings, because even though I may not be doing them on the YouTube channel, I'll still be offering tarot card readings and I-Ching readings if that's something that you're interested in. So that will always be available for you. But down in the description box, I got to do some retweaking over some things. I'm actually working on that right now, and it will be. My email will always be down there. So if you have any questions or anything along those lines while I'm getting some stuff, while things are under construction right now, definitely that'll always be down there for you. Feel free if you want to book any readings or any just sort of like general, whatever that looks like for you, just questions on my services and things like that. So that's available for you. And then in the description box is, well, there'll continue to be links for my other channel while it's still here, for my other channel, Alchemist 8, where I do talk about all sorts of astrology there, do weekly astrology as far as like the main kind of planetary transits, because the moon moves so fast. But yeah, I talk about the main kind of other celestial bodies, and then have this series that I'm doing. Actually, I'm doing the moon in Capricorn next, but it's about different celestial bodies in different signs and different houses, so that's available for you as well. But until next time, stay mindful out there, keep eyes on that moon, and I will catch you on the next one. Ooh, how appropriate. Saturday.